You will not believe what just happened. Blizzard got sued again. And what did I tell you? What did I tell you? I called this. I told you that this is gonna happen. Bobby Big D Kotick himself, the original G, the best of the rest. He was the only one keeping these floodgates closed. I told you, the moment he leaves, the moment the big Bobster is out, the hell is gonna walk over the earth at Blizzard. Bobby was the only one that was keeping the gates of hell at bay. He was the demon hunter.
Going to start off with a quote, allegedly a quote from Bobby Kotick, who said, "There are too many old white guys." Yep, these are the alleged words of Bobby as Activision
Or an unhinged lunatic leftist. You know, pick one.
faces yet another lawsuit, yet one from an entirely new angle. But that's actually not the only Kotick drama. There is a really good quote floating around. "Bobby's decisions made our games worse." A pretty damning indictment as former developers from Activision Blizzard are reacting to Bobby's departure and basically just getting to sound off thinking they're probably safe to do so. Essentially talking about how he was
A bunch of losers, a bunch of talentless hacks, people who completely failed at their job, are now finally having the opportunity to claim, oh, they're not responsible. Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're honestly stupid enough to believe that Bobby Kotick even knew what World of Warcraft is about, then I have a 500 bridges to sell you, okay, my sweet dear summer child. Dude, Bobby Kotick did not make a single decision that influenced how the game plays. Bobby did not make a single lore decision in Blizzard. Bobby did not make a single decision of anything. He probably doesn't know what Overwatch is still. He maybe has just seen some Overlook Rule 34, but that's pretty much it. Yeah. Stop trying to blame Bobby Kotick for all of your mishaps. You're just talentless, clueless hacks developers who have no idea what you're doing.
was personally responsible for things like developers not getting the support that we needed. And all this is happening as Hearthstone gets...
They didn't need support, they just needed to not be losers at their job.
Yet more bad news. Yes, bad news as it is about to hit its big 10-year anniversary, which is kind of rough. And while there is some bad news there, we do have, with Heroes of the Storm, some really ambitious players basically taking affairs into their own hands. But of course, we can't do any of that without the support of viewers like you and those who support us over at bellular.ghost.io. Other individuals stepping up to the plate to try and take them to task and get a little bit of a chunk of money. And this is quite interesting because Bobby is one of the main points of this lawsuit, but not really for reasons that you would think. Because, well, here's just the claim. Statements Bobby Kotick allegedly made at a leadership conference that the problem with Activision Blizzard is that there are too many old white guys. Now, does that sound like Bobby? Who knows? Here's the deal, though.
No. That sounds like Bobby got a PR tip.
One of the aforementioned old white guys, a 57-year-old Activision executive in their central tech department who was let go in August 2023 after a 9-year tenure, has seen or heard this statement from Bobby and then basically alleges that these remarks were made by Kotick and that they contributed to 2 other executives leaving based on the ageism of what he said. This person was then...
Ooh, ageism. You see what I mean? Bobby has left. And there you go. Okay, wait, how does this even actually work? So, the thing is, this old dude is suing Activision Blizzard, but not Bobby Kotick. But since he's suing Activision Blizzard, does Bobby Kotick even need to appear in court? Because Bobby Kotick is not being sued. It's his words that are getting sued, but through the proxy of Blizzard. How the hell does this even work? Does Bobby Kotick just go to the court because he's not being, because Bobby Kotick is not being sued here. It's Blizzard. Yeah, that's interesting.
Recommended as a replacement for one of those individuals, but they were passed over in favor of a younger non-white employee who then became this executive's manager. That manager...
See what I mean about, you see what I mean? The developers were just trash. Bobby Kotick did not tell them to make the game bad. They were just stupid trash.
Is then alleged to have created a hostile work environment for this person, leading to a low salary increase that would have been based on merit. And at the same time, he then accuses another member of staff of making false and defamatory...
Bruh, America is not about merit. It's about skin color. And, well, not the white one.
...remarks about him filed with Human Resources that he then filed a complaint against himself. And he says that his accusation was ignored and not taken seriously. Then in August 2023, he and 6 other men, aged 47 or older, were cut from a team of 200, which is being framed as being a disproportional thing. Here's the quote.
What? How is it this... Well, let me see this. Then on 6 other men aged 20 from a team. Dude, so 6 guys from a team of 200. Yo, what do you mean? You're less than 3% of this thing. Okay? Wait, 6 guys. Yeah, you're 3%. You're 6 is barely 3% of 200. What do you mean? Oh, disproportionate. Yo.
200, which is being framed as being a disproportional thing. Here's the quote. Activision placed profits over people by terminating the older, higher paid executives. Now, while we don't use...
By the way, I'm going to tell you one thing in court that you can do with statistics here.
Older...
If you average the average age of people working in these industries and these jobs and whatnot, you can statistically prove that it is not aberrant that these people get let go, most likely. If you want to do that, you can easily prove with statistics that this is not strange.
Higher paid executives. Now, while we don't usually talk about this sort of thing in terms of executives, even take a look at the BioWare story where actually, yeah, they did fire disproportionately people who had been at the company longer, therefore I suppose would naturally be older, and, had, well, like foundational experience on titles like Dragon Age and Mass Effect, which I'm sure will absolutely not bite BioWare in the ass later on. Now, as for Activision's rebuttal, they responded to outlets with their equal employment policy, which does include that they will not, discriminate based on age, race, or any other immutable characteristic. Now, the idea of them doing some form of discrimination based on some form of characteristic is something that we can sort of process via recent lawsuits, where of course you got the EEOC and you've got the CRD. Now the deal with those, right, is that those are like mostly settlements. You know, the recent thing with the CRD, that was a settlement. So what...
A settlement that probably did not pay out a lot, because you need to prove that you were targeted by these evil parameters, which is kind of hard, probably.
What does that mean? Does it mean they didn't do anything? I wouldn't say so. It means that they settled, which probably means they felt it was worth settling. So there was seemingly enough of pattern of discrimination that both groups were able to achieve, compensation for the affected classes of individuals in their settlements. So that's what we learned from the suits, and of course the idea of like ageism being something worth talking about. I mean, that is fairly relevant. Now, in the wake of those lawsuits, Activision basically released this like population summary that covers them in 2022, which is when this person was still employed at the company, where you basically see the, the gender representation, recruitment by gender.
What is this? Gender representation, percent of regular employees, woman, man, non-binary, something else, Jesus Christ. Recruited by gender, percent of hires, regular employees. Okay, so it's going up, I guess? Retention by gender. Okay. Voluntary turnover. Okay. So women stay less because it's a harder job. 2020 race and ethnic representation. Wait, this has way more than this, so we can't even see. Interesting.
Retention by...
Well, I say interesting, but actually I mean stupid.
Gender, race, and ethnicity representation in the US, and basically all that stuff being US based. There's actually no information in age.
Hispanics or Latins, whites, blacks, Americans, blah 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 blah, Asians, Native Americans or Alaska Natives. Oof, man, that's pretty racist to put the both of these in one thing. 2 or more races. Wait, what do you mean? Wait, what do you mean 2 or more races? Okay, well, it is what it is. I'm not actually reading, I'm just checking this. Retention. Race, dude, the only people who are actually staying working the job are whites and Native Americans. So I'm assuming janitors. That's a pretty safe assumption. I've watched Breaking Bad, and he steals school supplies at the and he steals
here. One could maybe say that means that age is actually something that they're not reporting on, and of course, therefore, a target for a suit that is claiming that they're not protecting staff enough. But to go back to the point made by the suit, Activision plays profits over people by terminating older, higher paid executives. That is obviously something we've seen a lot. We especially saw that happen at Bungie. Of course, whenever you say executive, you naturally think about the C-suite, you know, like the chief executive officer or the, chief operations officer. No. An executive could mean, say, an executive producer on a game title, an executive producer on, say, some technological thing that they're doing, which I believe is probably where this person is, is fitting in. And so going from a very
those change a lot, by the way, if anyone's wondering. Yeah, those do change a lot.
Mercenary point of view, as we've seen with...
Because if you got into that point, you're probably smart enough to not stay in a place that's bad for you or to keep climbing the ladder.
As we've seen with BioWare, and as the CEO of Insomniac...
You could arguably even call it not being retarded.
Insomniac was clearly musing on in some of those leaked documents. The tough thing is that generally the older people will be targeted, because older usually means more tenured, usually means more experience, therefore more compensation. And if you were to say that the sort of...
Not really, actually, no. A lot of companies don't want old people because it has been true for forever. A lot of old people do not adjust to the current landscape of things. And what's the point of a 50-year-old where you're making a product for a 10-year-old? Of course they're going to be relating verse to these things than a 20 or 30-year-old. It is what it is. It's just... It's actually basic sense.
Like ethnicity balance of the games industry has changed over the last 20 years, and is basically the white boy club 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, obviously some would still say that it is the white boy club right now. It would then be targeting those people just because, it's like a natural sort of fragment or whatever of
I have
of
not even heard about
so
this
anyway,
before.
This person has filed their lawsuit against their old boss. Who knows what...
Well, yeah, everything technically is the white boy club. I mean, we literally made everything that exists in the world that has value
happen. I would say
it is what it is.
If this did actually get treated seriously, I think especially in the ageism angle, that's maybe where you could get maybe a little bit more of a win. You do wonder what that would mean for other companies who have disproportionately been laying off those who are paid more. Now, of course, the company could say it's not ageism, we're just, we're getting rid of the people who are the most expensive. Those things are correlated, but their age is not the reason why we're getting rid of them. Their compensation is the reason, and who knows, maybe that's a totally fine defense for the company. Now,
okay, let me ask you this because I'm not American. Does America actually have this situation where there's a guy who has worked in a company for 20 years, he has the exact same job title as another person, and, the other person has worked, for example, in the company for 3 years, but that guy who has worked for 20 years in the company has, a 2 times more pay? Yeah, that doesn't seem feasible to me. But then again, America is a shithole.
Now, that's not all with Bobby, though, because as he has left, the developers are telling all. Just a few little things. Of course, Bobby's gone. Staff are really happy to talk about this.
Bro, Bobby Kotick did not create a tank meta in Overwatch. Bobby Kotick wasn't the reason why Overwatch fell apart. Stop blaming Bobby Kotick for the actions of completely skillless developers.
Next, Demonware developer Christina Pollock said this: I worked on COD for 2 years as a programmer at Demonware. Bobby's decisions made our games worse.
Okay. How? If his decision... Like, bruh, what did he say? Remove the guns? Make the animations worse? What did he do?
There, of course, were numerous other examples across social media. Ones ranging from Bobby asking to speak to one of the WoW teams and wanting to make donuts for them, and I believe buying the donuts from like a donut company and arriving with a kind of ludicrous amount of donuts, all the way to one of the more recent problems, which is
Bobby buys you donuts. There's a lot of donuts. Oh no, the order? What? You see what I mean? Bobby bought you donuts, but it was more donuts than you wanted. Man, that's a horrible man, right? Oh, man. Panic room, anyone? I feel like going to the panic room because that sounds so horrible. Jesus Christ.
is the launch of Overwatch 2 onto Steam, where everybody knew that it would be a total goddamn disaster. The game's free to play, and that means anyone could just...
Bruh! Bobby... Okay. This is so stupid. Because Bobby Kotick said, yeah, we're gonna put it on Steam. Bobby Kotick did not previously say, hey, now you developers listen here, you're gonna spend 3 years making Overwatch an absolute fucking unplayable joke that no one likes. He didn't tell them that. He just told them, oh, Overwatch is gonna go on Steam, and then the developers panicked because they knew that nothing they have done in the past 3 years, which Bobby Kotick had absolutely no say in, and people hate it. Again, I mean, it's really easy trying to blame Bobby Kotick, but again, he's not responsible for these things.
Click the button to get the game, and even if they wanted to make the review look legit, they could just have it idle on the main screen, rack up maybe 7 hours of playtime, and then give it a negative review. Basically, the staff obviously knew. And we have an example of that with Andy Belford sharing...
So you're telling me the staff knew that they had made a completely hateable game, and it's bad. And the staff's like, oh no, don't put it online, no, don't put it there, it's bad. They would never fix it anyway. But again, why are you blaming him for that? It's literally the developers. It's always the developers. There is no CEO of a single gaming company as big as Blizzard who actually tells the developers to make a bad game. They literally don't oversee game design choices pretty much, almost never.
The community team's experience, saying that they were tasked with handling the Steam forums and reviews, basically as the company was moving on to Steam, and this was sort of outside their usual job description. So it was something new that they had to deal with. They also knew what the response would be. Of course, they had nothing to do with the decision.
Community team, tell me what they actually do. Tell me what the community team actually does. It's so rare that you know, Blizzard, the community team actually talk. Well, what do they do? Tell me, what do they do? Nothing.
They got them into that sort of situation, but still, look, things can be bad. It can be people's job to deal with that on the frontline basis. What the company should probably do, though, is support those people with the resources, etc., that they need, especially if something ends up being so much of a shit show that dealing with the shit show means they can't get the other functions of their job done, which is a fairly reasonable thing to happen. Well, What happened? The answer is nothing happened. Yes. And Andy said, I'm breaking my silence to share a fun fact. When we planned Overwatch 2's launch, my team warned months in advance about all these problems with the review bombing, and essentially...
Can you even call it review bombing? You made the game bad. Like, look at this. Look at this dude. Him. Like, You don't. I don't need a lot of proof to already completely describe him as an incompetent fool that does not deserve the money that he's being paid. Okay? Bobby Kotick did not tell him to make the game bad. He told him to launch it on Steam, and then he was, now it's gonna get a review. Yeah, but can you actually fix the game? No, you can't. You made the game this bad, not anyone else.
Just said, at this company, shit flows downstream, usually landing on the lowest paid, most overworked people, management being too busy reacting to wildly vacillating direction and decisions that made zero sense. He says that at the end of everything, the player and worker experience meant nothing to the C-suite and executive leadership, that it was all about them.
Oh, really? Is that supposed to be strange? Do you want the CEO to come to the janitor every day and give them coffee and lick their feet? Well, what exactly do you want from this? Do you want them to massage you while you work? Well, these people are completely unhinged lunatics. This guy does not work, okay? I can tell you for a fact, this guy is a complete skillless cretin, okay? No questions asked. Incompetent, bad, completely unworkable, but also probably, okay? He's not worth the money.
That quarterly earnings call. And it's again one of those times where the new pattern is players and developers are losing out. Both of which are very important to these companies, so who knows? Maybe if we band together a little bit more, it could be useful.
Oh yeah, just make a union. That's gonna work. That's gonna be good.
Anyway, the framing here is certainly like CEO, C-suite being fairly responsible here. It's hard to really tell how much that is the case.
None. It's actually really easy to tell that's the case. Also, again, in my experience, this is always the case. Shitty employees always blame the bosses. I have seen people that get fired because they're shitty workers, and they're gonna not blame themselves. They never blame themselves, obviously. Who blames themselves, right? That's not normal. If you're blaming yourself for stuff, congratulations, you're probably some kind of lunatic. People don't blame themselves. I have seen this. I have seen people who are bad at their work getting fired. Do you know what's the common denominator? These people don't think they're bad at their work, even though I have seen people who don't even know what restarting their computer means. They do everything slow. I can do something in 1 hour. They need 3 days to do it. Okay? And these people, they don't think they're bad at their jobs. It's their boss's fault that they're getting fired because their boss is stupid and doesn't understand what's happening. No, all of these people say the exact same things. It's never their fault. They're good enough. No, they're trash. They're trash. It is what it is. And these people who are complaining are trash.
I do at least know, though, that, say, the Overwatch League, that's an example of something that was very much Bobby's pet project, that he pushed a hell of a lot. And we know that...
Yeah, he pushed it because there was a lot of money in esports. You know what Bobby didn't do? Bobby didn't tell the balance team to make the meta a bunch of tanks and healers, and the matches being just staring contests for 10 minutes until something magical happens and in an instant one side wins. Bobby didn't say that. Again, Bobby was not responsible for that. The devs were.
That, massively disrupted the development process of Overwatch. So who knows? I mean, maybe less Bobby decision-making just would have led to Overwatch being less scuffed as an IP. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, people are stupid, and that's where we're gonna end the video. People Like, yeah, the leadership matters. True. It matters a lot. But you need to understand, leadership doesn't actually choose the things that fail the game. The game being badly balanced is not any C-suite executive's decision. It's just idiots like, this guy. That's it. Incompetent losers. It is what it is. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sid Set, and that was Billiard News. Good times. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye-bye.